All right, this is my daily update for my build in public log. It is December 27th, 2024. Uh, the year is almost over. So I have been back in California for 9 months. 9 months. And it made me think of my random story for today. So if you don't want to hear my crazy random story, fast forward. Uh, so one time I was living in South Africa for a while, Cape Town. And, a bachelor traveling the world. So I did what any bachelor nomad does. You fire up Tinder or whatever dating app of the month and, you start meeting people. This is what you do. So uh, I started chatting with this woman in South Africa, in Cape Town. And I was very new to the city, and she suggested we go to Nandos. So if you're unfamiliar with British culture, which I was at that point, ironically, I went to the UK last before going to all the Commonwealth countries, or a good deal of them. And anyone who doesn't know what Nando's is, think of it as kind of like an upscale chicken place that has like all kinds of different chickens, but like it's kind of almost like a sit down restaurant. Sometimes there's like a waitress or a waiter, but it's also like kind of lowbrow, middle class kind of food. It's not fancy. It's not quite KFC, but it's not quite that bad. But it's also not like it's like a franchise chain kind of place, pretty notorious in the UK. I didn't know what Nando's was, so oh yeah, sure, okay, let's go meet. And I walk in and I see this woman sitting there, and she stands up. My jaw drops. She's like 9 months pregnant. What? Yeah, you left out a very key important detail in your profile there. Turns out she was, I don't know, like 8 or 9 months pregnant, recently divorced, and I was, yeah, that was my first Nando's experience. Let's just say I didn't stay very long, and I had no chicken. I kind of got out of there as fast as I could, which is a shame. I ended up kind of liking Nando's when I lived in London, but yeah, I was mortified to see that she was about to have a child, practically. Um, no, really, I don't. I think she had like a month left or something, but yeah, no, I wasn't a good fit. Wasn't a good match. Let's just put it that way. But South Africa is a beautiful country. I love South Africa. It has a lot of problems. There's a lot of social, economical, political issues. A lot of dark, history. But if you look at the people, you look at the nature from that point of view, it's a pretty cool country. I wish they were doing better, but it's such a unique, beautiful country. You go to the beach and you see literally great white sharks and whales in the water, uh, and then penguins on the beach. And then you drive, up the road a few hours, and you see zebras, lions, cheetahs. I mean, all in one little country. It's a really really cool country. So, and the people are pretty fun. They can be pretty wild. Uh, it's fun, but yeah, the history is unfortunately a dark history with that country. But it is still worth seeing, I think. And honestly, truthfully, their economy can really use a boost from people going and visiting. So I really hope the country does better in the future. But anyways, uh, so on to the business. So there's once again a lot of guests from out of town, out of country, out of state here. There's dogs going crazy out there. There's a baby, a toddler. It's been hard to get a lot of good focus for it, but I managed to make some really good progress, especially on the agent's part. So uh, no updates on revenue or users, but I am making it actually worthwhile to get both those things. So let me just briefly explain what I worked on. So I added a queue. Okay, so how it works is, so when somebody emails the service, you get assigned a unique address, but you can just email this. So when you send an email here, what happens is a request gets into the server. So your email gets sent to the server, okay? And then it validates it. It says, "Hey, are you a real user?" Because I can't just send an email back to anybody. If you didn't opt in, I cannot. I like, because of anti-spam regulation and rules. I can't just send an email back. Like, if you were to send an email to this, I'm going to ignore you unless you've actually opted in. You have a real user account. You're either on a trial or you're actually like a paid user. Okay. So first it does some checks. Then it goes, what I added is it then adds your email to a big queue. So a list, think a big line. Think about it. If 10,000 people sent an email at the same time, you need to gracefully handle that. So uh, hopefully, hopefully, I need to do like serious load testing on this. Hopefully this doesn't fall down. If 10,000 people email this at the same time, I need to test that more thoroughly. But the idea is the heavy processing, kicking off agents, sending it to ChatGPT, creating the email, sending it back to the user. All of that is very intensive. And you don't want that to happen on a little server like 10,000 times. What you want is to put that into a queue. This does very little stuff. Like, okay, fine. It's probably going to be okay. Unless you have really, really serious usage. And the important part is this needs to respond back very quickly. It needs to say, yes, okay, I got your email. Good. Stop sending the emails. So it's important to respond right away to the service here that is actually sending the email data. Okay, so that's what I did. I added a queue. And the queue puts it in order. And slowly, as the server obviously can handle it, it will process them. Now, this could be scaled up and you could have like a lot of servers doing this, like handling the queue if you need to. So that's why it's important to have this kind of architecture so you can scale. It's a bit more complicated because there is some database interaction. So obviously, if you need to scale, it could get more complicated, but I'm keeping it simple for now. There's now a queue, and then it processes, and then it figures out what to do. So what I'm adding right now is the new functionality for all the agents, the agent router. So what the agent router does is that it actually uses AI, of course, to look at the email and all the context. So is this a big email thread? What are they asking for? So it doesn't read the thread, but it sees that it is a thread, and it's going to send a request to an LLM, ChatGPT, that asks, okay, what's the intention? What does the user want here? Okay, this is a thread, and they're saying summarize the thread. Obviously, that's going to go to the agent that is responsible for summarizing the thread and doing whatever they ask for. Are they asking to schedule an event and send calendar invites? Is there multiple people like on the email and they're saying, "Hey, schedule a meeting"? Obviously, they want to schedule a meeting. Go route to the scheduling agent. Or do they want to go look up some data? Do you need to go do some research? Okay, then obviously route that to the research agent, which actually is going to crawl the internet. It's actually going to search and do real things. More to come on that later. So I got the queue. that's in place. That's the kind of the foundational piece that I needed to do to actually like be able to kick off agents order in an orderly fashion without overloading this little server. Like I said, if thousands of requests come in, you don't want the thousands of agents just instantly, trying to spin up and do things. You need to do that in an orderly fashion. Like, okay, step by step, one by one by one. And yeah, that's looking promising. So I need to do a bit more work here. And as soon as that piece is done, which is working, I have it working how it works now. Very boring. It just routes it to an LLM. I have that working, so it still is working as it has for everybody at this point. It's not deployed yet, but that seems to be working fine. So the next piece is to build out these. One thing I want to do is I hate how the LLMs, the popular ones, ChatGPT is pretty bad. Claude is really, really bad. Even the Meta one, I hate how it treats you like a 5-year-old child. You ask it anything kind of risque at all, and it just says, "Oh, I can't. I'm not gonna respond to that." That drives me absolutely nuts. My service is not going to do that. One agent. So the first agents I'm going to do is scheduling. That's one I've heated a lot recently, and it's going to route to an LLM that is actually going to respond if you ask it something risque. So obviously, the Elon Musk, his XAI, Grok, that one is willing to answer. Number one, it answers more real-time stuff because it actually looks at Twitter live, which is really, really cool. So if you're going to ask it something that is extremely up to the minute, it'll go there. If you ask it something really risque that ChatGPT is going to be like, no, I don't want to respond, then it's going to route it there, but it's going to do some smart routing like that. So not only is it going to be an agent router, but it'll be basically like a request router. Is this request going to get denied by ChatGPT? Okay, then go somewhere else. I want to build that out later, so it's much more sophisticated. Like, is it code? Go to Claude, because honestly, in my opinion, doing coding work is better with Claude than ChatGPT, unless you're doing the O1, but that's very expensive. I'm not going to do that. So it's going to be an agent LLM router is really what it is. So you need to be careful with this because it could start routing to the wrong LLM for the wrong task. But this is the piece I'm working on. So once that piece is in and the queue that piece looks solid and this is working solid, then it's time to start building out the agents. And one piece I want to do, this is all I'm going to say, I'm going to wrap it up. I want you to be able to route to any router you want. So Zapier, N8N. I want to set this up so you can go do all your flows you need to do without like waiting for integrations from me, without handing over your API keys or etc. or authorizing integrations within my app. No, I want you to be able to do whatever the hell you want. So that's going to be one of the first things is this one, the scheduling agent, webhook, so you can integrate however you need and want to actually make this thing useful. And then there'll be a whole slew of other agents after that. So yeah, good progress the last couple of days. Despite all the distractions, I managed to squeeze in some time, but I need a lot more time. And I'll probably be headed out of town the next 2 days, so I doubt I'll get much done. So hence the big update, especially this might be the last update for the next 2 days. We'll see. Hopefully not. But good progress. And I'm excited to see how this is going to come together. I really, really want an actual virtual assistant where you send a request and it will actually go do real things and with quality, not just some garbage, generic response that ChatGPT and the like gives you. So that's all I have for today. Hopefully that's useful in explaining how to build out such a product. All right. Have a good Friday.